All right, Phil, I'm excited about this episode. We got a real practical, tactical, real life examples, things that people can do and set up and use. And hopefully, I don't do all of these things. You probably don't do all of these things, but we each do some of them. And so I want to kind of share our personal life hacks in how we operate, how we take our adventures, how we're building generational wealth, how we're managing our finances, and different tools and things that are out there and that are available that many people don't know about. I know I bring up things to people and they're like, oh, I didn't even know you could do that. And we were kind of going back and forth on a text thread of like, oh, what do you want to talk about this week for this episode? And I had brought up life hacks and you took it one direction. And then we kind of talked about like real life, like tangible things, which I loved your direction too. And we've talked about that many times on the pod. In superpowers, but jump on that. Let's talk about the text thread real quick, and then we'll kind of get into some of the bullet points that I have of real life things that I'm working on, and I know what's possible.
Yeah, I think that it's the stuff that you have to share today specifically is going to be great. As we were going back and forth, we were kind of talk about the word hack, which I've kind of dissected throughout this journey of trying to figure out, that it's not about a silver bullet. Oftentimes it's about the fundamentals, but there are tools and strategies and tactics, which you brought up, that is going to be the guiding tone for this podcast that are very specific and tactical and can get you to an end destination a bit faster, even though there's never a silver bullet. So just that word hack, we're always cognizant of, whether it's biohacking or in this case, where we started by just life hacks. And a lot of those that I found we covered on superpowers, but I love what you've got prepared today. This conversation came up while we were in person over the course of the last week. And some of the folks around in our perimeter were very interested in some of them. And again, we'll talk through, this works for us. We're not financial advisors. You have become a self-educated, taken this stuff on and gone deeper. It's something that I've tended to outsource or get guidance on. But hopefully it's just some ideas for the listeners of options that they may have that weren't in their purview until today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I remember this weekend we had a fun weekend up in Prescott, fantasy football draft. One of our core four, we like to call it, of our league. There's three of us. Our fourth couldn't make it, but we were talking about some of this stuff around the poker table when we were playing, and it was cool to kind of share some of the things that I'm working on and hearing others be like, "Oh man, I'm totally interested in that." So I guess we'll kind of start on. I'm an advocate for entrepreneurship. I don't think you have to build a massive business or anything like that, but I do believe that every single person should have an LLC set up for themselves. They should be earning an income outside of their W-2 job or outside of the core business that they have. They should have multiple LLCs. Obviously, talk to your CPA and your attorneys or anything like that. I'm not giving any advice in terms of like exactly how to do these things, but I know what's possible. And so when you set things up in an LLC, and maybe you're, earning an income on the side with, pet sitting, or maybe you're earning income on the side, just coaching people and, or setting up workshops, and you're earning a little bit, right? Having those funds become revenue and paid to your LLC instead of taking those funds personally. There's so many benefits to that. Another big example is if you're like a health broker or you're a commission-based realtor, right? You're earning this cash and you're earning this revenue. It's not a paycheck. It's revenue, and it should be going to your LLC. So if you're a 1099 contractor with your business and you're giving them your social security number on the form W-9, you're doing it wrong. Set up an LLC and give them the EIN number, which is like your business social security number. Set up a business checking account and have those monies go into your LLC's checking account. It allows you to save so much money in tax liability, because now when you're out there driving, you can write off your gas, you can even lease your car. Yeah, your mileage, all this stuff. And you have all these expenses that would normally be paid with after-tax dollars, you can now pay for out of your business, and it lowers your tax liability when you're ready to file for your personal income taxes. So that's the number one life hack I would recommend, is for sure set up an LLC for yourself. I just call it like Phil Crawford Consulting LLC or Stephen Harris Hoopster LLC, whatever, right? Like you can call it whatever you want. You're not actually branding yourself. You're just setting up a business checking account for a purpose to earn revenue and what it is that what you're doing on the side, or just things that you're already making money from. You want to make sure it's set up in an LLC. And I'll get down as we continue on this podcast, the other cool things you can do once you have those funds in the LLC.
And I think the reason you're calling this a life hack is not only maybe you are going to continue down the W-2 path and retire that way, that's fine. But this is also going to, just going through the process, get you creating and formalizing the value you're bringing elsewhere based on your interest or your skills that you can monetize, moving into a world that's going to likely be needed, or if nothing else, give you a sense of comfort that during change, you have a path to go down and continue to build and really formalizing that practice.
Yep, absolutely. And I think it's cool. It kind of is like dipping the toe into entrepreneurship. Like, ooh, now I'm a business owner. I've got a limited liability company and I own it. And it gives you a little bit of sense of accomplishment in a way too. But so here's one of the coolest things. If you have kids, one of the coolest things you can do is you can hire your children. And if they're hired under an LLC, they don't pay taxes if they're under 18 years old. And you can have your children be like, I don't know, they're the face of your real estate, brand, and you post a few pictures for them, or you do a photo shoot or whatever, and they earn income. You hire them on payroll. They're not actually getting paid this money. You set up like a Roth IRA, like a retirement account, and you have those monies go directly into a retirement account. Imagine putting, the max is like $8,500 a year that you can do into a Roth IRA account. It's an individual retirement account. Or it's 8,000, I think. But imagine that when they're like 10 years old and they don't touch it until they're like 60 years old. You've been putting in IRA money. You've been taking the deduction, so it's lowering your tax liability. But then you've been putting these funds into your child's retirement account. By the time they're 60, they're going to be multimillionaires. Yeah. And all it was, and it saved you tax liability, and you've invested in your kids' future. You've also educated them, so when they have children, they do the same thing, and they're building this out. And that's how you build some generational wealth through a Roth, which is an after-tax retirement contribution, which means that there's no taxes on any of the gains. So when you withdraw that money in retirement, there's no taxes.
And making sure there's a legitimate job description and what your child is contributing to the business that they can use for a resume, as well as like show how they've contributed to this business. There are a ton of benefits there that we've heard from other peers of ours that are doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's funny because in the payroll business, we do this all the time. We run payroll for our clients and just their kids. Just there's an LLC just for their kids, and the job description is their maintenance or clean, like they're cleaning the office. They come in twice a week and they go wipe down desks and they clean the baseboards and whatever. Like maybe it's not even a core service, right? It's just you're hiring them to do something for your business.
See, you're making me think. I definitely was not on payroll when I was cleaning the hair salon.
Right. And your mom could have
put you on payroll. Cash, which that was out of her tip money, which could have been run through the business.
She could have deducted that as an expense, an employee salary expense, deducted it, lowered her own tax liability while investing in your future, right? So it's like moving money legally from left pocket to right pocket within the family. And so that's one of the many reasons.
When the work was being done.
And the work was being done, right? Instead of hiring someone else. But a Roth, between a traditional 401k and a Roth 401k, a Roth is after-tax dollars. A traditional 401k is pre-tax dollars. You have to earn an income in order to contribute. But the after-tax dollars, it may be like, well, why don't I want the pre-tax benefits right now? Well, when you do a Roth, it is after-tax dollars, but there's no tax on any of the gains for the rest of time. So as you invest in, like, let's say the S&P 500 or some mutual funds or ETFs or whatever, exchange traded funds, the gains from that, when you withdraw, there's no taxes. A pre-tax 401k, you're getting the tax benefits now. So then when you withdraw later, you are taxed on those gains. So there's those differences depending on what you want to do. If you can handle not saving on the taxes now, like you want to pay with after-tax dollars, a Roth is 100% the way to go. And I won't even get into the self-directed stuff, which I have a self-directed 401k. It's a pretty unique tool. I won't dive too deep into that, but basically that just means I get to control my investments. I don't have to just go to a stock market. I can invest in, a friend's business, or I can invest in real estate, or I can invest in gold if I wanted to. It just gives you alternative assets that you can invest in with the self-directed. But anyway, long story short, or long story long, 401k for your kids. Hire them, get them on payroll, get a legitimate job description, track their hours, and then you can contribute through payroll to invest in their retirement.
Love it.
I've got one more
Keep going.
along those lines when you have the LLC, and that is when it comes to health insurance. Okay, so you need health insurance. Everyone has health insurance. When you're self-employed, if you've got health insurance that is, or even if you're not self-employed and you have health insurance that's HSA available or eligible, you're in a high deductible plan and you're contributing to the HSA and maybe your company's matching that HSA. 100%, if you can help it, like if you can swing it, pay for those doctor's bills without your HSA money. You're contributing pre-tax HSA dollars. You're saving on the tax liability. You're contributing to the HSA and you're piling it up. I think it's like $85.50 for family in 2025. You're building that balance up, and an HSA grows. It's investing. So when you have a balance over 2,000, it's investing in the stock market and it grows. But if you can swing it and you pay for the medical bills outside of your HSA just with after-tax dollars, and you let that HSA grow, keep track of all of your medical expenses in a spreadsheet, the date, the doctor, the service, keep your receipts. When you're older and you're in retirement, or now you've got some real big medical issues going on, you've got this stockpile of cash that is invested in an HSA, again, pre-tax and non-taxable when you do these withdrawals. Now you can reimburse yourself for all of those years of those expenses. So let's say I have $100,000 in medical expenses. I can, at my HSA, when I'm like 60 years old, even if I don't have any health issues, I can reimburse myself at this point $100,000 to do with whatever I want. Because I'm reimbursing for the out-of-pocket medical expenses. So HSAs are a big one. I heard that from a friend of the pod, another Gento member, Matt Gardner, one of the top health brokers in the country, taught me that little life hack. If you've got health insurance at your business or at your company and you're HSA eligible, if you can contribute to it, take the pre-tax benefit now, but pay for your medical expenses outside of it. And then just let that baby compound and grow.
That's back to delayed gratification, getting a return from the market and being able to pay your future self.
Yes.
While mitigating the risk of what may happen. Love that.
Dude, I went to Aspire, that conference. Remember, we did a pod on it. It's like a year and a half ago. Mm-hmm. And the guy, what's his name? Andrew Corgle, something like that. He was one of the ones that ran it. This is one of the things he was talking about. He was like, my mom paid for her pool in her new house because she reimbursed herself from her HSA tax-free because of her medical expenses that she didn't use those dollars for. As long as you keep track, you can reimburse yourself from that HSA. So anyway, cool life hack when it comes to, again, building wealth.
I see why Paula's building up her HSA so much.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, if you need the money and you need to spend it, like you've got to do that, right? This is if you have the means and you can figure out a way to maybe you don't have to tap into that HSA and let that thing grow, because it's all growing through compounding interest, which is, again, another life hack that I have. And, I'm a stock guy, is like set something up in the S&P 500. The thing compounds 10% every freaking year on average. Oh yeah. Right. You put in $100 a month, $1,200 a year. And 20 years from now, you're going to have $100,000 and you only invested, $24,000 or whatever the math is.
That can be on autopilot. Yep.
Just never even it's boring. It's super boring stuff, but that's something that I do personally. And it you just let it go. You just let it roll.
Let it ride.
All right. So I've talked a lot about the LLC stuff and some of these, wealth life hacks, but let's get out of the financial piece. Let's put it back on you. Do you have any personal life hacks or things that you and Paula are doing that maybe not everyone knows about, like whether it's a trip that you're doing or how you budget or how you, or maybe it's just something cool that you're doing that we should know about?
Yeah, some of the things that as I was thinking about this podcast I think they're back to the fundamentals. And one of them is outsourcing what you can. Now, this isn't for everyone. I've come full circle around this and really thought about it a lot lately, because for a while it took me a while, 12 years ago when I started having someone clean my house. It's like, you can't clean your own house. And that led to, I was talking this weekend about some of the household things that need to be done, but you're on a time crunch. I will use an app like TaskRabbit was mine. I think Mark brought up a different one, Thumbtack, this weekend, which I think is super cool, because not only am I saving the time where I can go work on generating either revenue or recovery time that I need, but I'm benefiting the local economy of people that are putting their skills to use in our neighborhood. So certain things that happen around the house, I will get on TaskRabbit. It's kind of fun because you get to negotiate depending on the task and the difficulty of it. You can pick people that are just getting started, which I like to do. It's all secure within a platform, so their background checks have occurred, et cetera. And they will come to the house, knock out a to-do list while I'm working at the house. And this outsourcing concept, again, isn't for everyone, because as I've had this conversation, some people get a lot of joy around home maintenance, maintaining the yard. Like these things vary from individual, and that is something you shouldn't outsource. If you're really enjoying it and taking care of, your environment, and that's how you get into flow and recovery, that's amazing. Don't. But I think if you're trying to build something and they're a stretch for your skill set, if you can afford it, outsourcing it is so much better if you're using that time to build, not using it to watch television or scroll or consume.
That's what I was just going to say is like you're paying, $100 service, every week, or landscaping every 2 weeks, or whatever it is, right? $100 a month. If you're using that time, it could take you saving you 6 hours a month. If you're using that time wisely and building, you're going to earn more than $100 a month.
That's it. And that's back to knowing your hourly rate and what you're trying to do. This is what works for me. Has been an interesting conversation in our household on what we should outsource and what we shouldn't. But I'd love to get to the point where I think one of the best things, like one of my big aspirational goals, is to have someone that would cook, do laundry, and clean on hand, because I don't enjoy those things. Now, Paul enjoys cooking. So this one is kind of, again, I don't want to take that joy away. I'm talking more about the day-to-day. Do I have healthy meals prepared? Is everything in line? And if that is a huge return for me on a break-even point. So we know other people in our circle that have outsourced a lot of these things, even driving from appointment to appointment, because there's a serious return and ability to get in front of the team and work on the move. I think anytime you can look at what you can afford to outsource for the return of what you're trying to get, this might be a return to spending time with your family. Outsourcing is a big.
Yeah, that's a great life hack. And even in, if you're in your business, whether it's a virtual assistant or leveraging AI, right? It's all outsourcing. Can you find the tools and the resources and things that can give time back in your day to focus on the things that move the needle for you? That's a good one. One of the things that we do a lot, and especially in the summer of Arizona, is we do staycations at the resorts out here. Not a lot, meaning like every weekend, but meaning every year we do it. And some of these resorts are incredible. Like they're, Biltmore, the Princess, like the 4.5 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars, whatever. And they can still be pricey, even though they're, like $400 or $500 a night, right? Like even if in the summer when there's like not a lot of people here. But here's a life hack. Here's a hack to get into those resorts. They're like water parks, right? So they're like, you hang out by the pool, you feel like you're on a vacation. This is a staycation here in Phoenix. But here's the hack, and you can do this anywhere. If you go on Hotwire, and it gives you like a range, right? It gives you like a map and like, okay, you're gonna, be in this area, and it'll tell you, okay, the hotel is 4.5 stars or whatever, and you might get this one, or this one. Like it doesn't tell you the hotel name, it doesn't tell you what you're gonna get, and that's kind of the benefit of using Hotwire is the hotels will give you discounted rates because they don't want you to know. It's not supposed to be public that they're discounted these. So they have this partnership with Hotwire to give you like 40% off sometimes, and like the nightly rate of these awesome baller hotels. And so you go on Hotwire, but you're like, shoot, I don't know what I'm going to get, because there's like this one chance that I get this one hotel that's on that list that I don't want, but some of these others are okay, but this is the one I really want. Okay, here's the hack. Go on to Hotwire, find your region that you want. It'll give you a picture of the room. And a lot of times it'll just give you the picture of the room. Now, sometimes it'll say not photo or not actual photo of the room. But if it doesn't have that disclaimer, give it a picture of the room, take a screenshot of it, crop it out so it's just a picture of that, download the reverse image search app or use Google. I think Google has a reverse image search. Upload it, and it will tell you exactly what hotel that is that you're going to get. So you go into Hotwire.
I remember when Kim told us about that when we were sitting at dinner, and I was like,
we've been doing it for years. It's such a good one. So then you get these awesome hotels and hanging out, and you're like, you know exactly where you're going. So Hotwire reverse image search, and then but you can do the same thing with Hotels Tonight. Hotels Tonight's a good one too. That's a last minute life hack app.
There are quite a few travel ones out there that I've heard recently, especially for airlines. I know Shane an avid listener of the pod. He'll be on someday. He was telling me about a couple that you just have to set these dates and potentially travel midweek. But I know that they were just out or back from Switzerland and they went for almost nothing because of how you can move points. It matches points up. And I don't know it off the top of my head, but the ability to travel without, dipping into your actual cash and actually using your points properly is a big one that I know that we've talked about in Junto as well is how you can really truly maximize how you're spending on your credit cards. Obviously paying them off every month, but really making those work for you and using them now. I think that's another thing that I've heard is all of your awards stuff, the points that you're earning, whether it's your frequent flyers or your hotel, that's how it came up was like hotel points. People are saying use those right away. Opposite from the HSA, people let them bank up, but those have a sense of inflation as well. Those companies are always trying to find ways to where inflation hits the point system as well. So it's like if you've accumulated a certain amount, you can use a room, use it. Anyway, that's a recent one I didn't plan on bringing up.
No, I'm glad. It's a great transition. I've got a ton of and these are things we've done, and I'm not afraid or ashamed to admit it as a business owner. When you're grinding it out and cash is tight, when you start out and you're trying to figure things out, credit cards can be a saving grace for you.
Absolutely.
And there's ways that you can set yourself up to, so like speaking of your rewards points, that is huge. We've paid for flights, we've paid for hotels, we paid just from points. Even like Chase Rewards points pays for our Amazon movies. Like you go on Amazon and you order a movie and it's like, would you like to use your Chase Rewards points? Like, sure. So it's like a free movie. And just by paying off your credit cards, it gives you those points that you can use for other things. So that's definitely something to leverage. Now, there are people that are kind of like, I don't want to get involved with credit cards. They're scary to me. But I'm telling you what, if you can be smart and disciplined with it, there's so many benefits with having a credit card. It has nothing to do with like delaying the payment. It's more about those rewards points and the travel, things that you can do. So let me give you a couple of examples. Let's say you do have a large credit card, a bill that you can't pay off. But you've got another credit card over here that has there's no balance on it. And you get an offer that says, hey, transfer your balance over to here. You're going to pay us a 5% fee. So let's say you got 10 grand on this credit card, you got zero over here, and you do a balance transfer of 10 grand because your credit limit allows for it. You pay $500 for the balance transfer, right? So it's going to cost you a little bit to transfer it over, but it's 0% interest for the next 12 months. So now I'm deferring my payments for 12 months. So if you can stomach the $500 balance transfer fee, the balance transfer is just moving the debt from one card to the other, and it's making it a longer time frame to pay that off, and it does not affect your credit score whatsoever. I've talked to credit repair specialists before to see if it touches your credit score. It does not. What touches your credit score is when you're not making those payments on that credit card, right? So if you do that transfer, but here's the other thing: instead of doing an electronic transfer, because when that $10,000 gets paid off, you don't get those points on a transfer. So you get $10K on this card, and you just transfer it to another one. It's not like you're paying the card; you're just moving the money, so you don't get those rewards points. But sometimes those balance transfer credit cards will say, would you like to have this via check? Instead of moving from card to card, would you like us to send you a check for the amount? And then you can do with what you want with this check. So you have them send a check, you wait the 2 weeks, and you pay off that card.
Don't do what you want with the check.
No, I know, but that's what they say, right? But you use that and you pay off that original card. So now you get the rewards points, and then you just moved your balance transfer over to delay those payments if you need to. So those are those little things, and it just continues to add. You find those little loopholes that are totally available. It's just about being smart with the situation that you're in. Sometimes you got to make those moves.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the credit card one is travel rewards, 0% APR when you need it. And then the other one I wanted to touch on was if you own a home, there's so many options and available things you can do, such as like home equity line of credit. And tapping into that if you have a ton of equity in your home, which a lot of people do now, having that set up just as a safety net. Big, massive things happen and you got a big expense. Instead of throwing it on a credit card and paying that high interest, set up like a low interest home equity line of credit, and you only pay interest on the balance that you use. You can tap into the value of your home, which is a great safety net for big purchases like your roof or something like that. I mean, obviously you've owned places, but have you set up a HELOC before?
No, I never have. on the other side of it, I really try to avoid debt as much as possible. Besides, obviously, your house and, short term is needed. And when you're trying to build something, that's also, needed. These are unbelievable tools to learn about. And I know I've considered them in the past, but I've never actually tapped into them. And it is a nice feeling knowing that equity sitting there with the rental properties and whatnot. But I always am trying to avoid
drive that number down.
Yeah. Because you calculate that, even though it could all go away, you calculate that in your net worth. And I always think about that number.
So what I've heard, and again, I don't do this, I don't invest in any properties or anything, but if you've got a ton of equity, like I've heard a lot of, real estate investors, if you've got a ton of equity in a property, you take that HELOC and you take the cash out, invest in another property that pays for both that mortgage and this mortgage. And now all of a sudden now that debt becomes good debt because it's being paid off and you've now owned two properties with that same debt. So,
and there were prior markets where the interest rate and the home value made a ton of sense there. And it was like, oh, has this window passed? And you got to evaluate that. But then people have rinsed, repeat. You are talking about a high state of leverage there, which many folks will find themselves in. But again, it's back to doing your due diligence. What am I bringing?
Being disciplined.
What stress test it? What can I truly afford? But that is definitely a model that we've seen, promoted and people teaching how to do it across social media, et cetera.
Yep. All right. Last one. I'll end. This will be for our listeners again, who have those kids in their life that want to build generational wealth. This is how a lot of very successful and wealthy people do it, that like generations and generations and generations. And it's done through a life insurance vehicle. Mm-hmm. So some people are like, oh, life insurance, like it's such a crack. Like, but I'm never going to see that money. Like, why would I get life insurance? Like when I'm gone, who cares? But if you think about this, when you're gone, this life insurance money is passed down to your heirs, right? Your children or whoever else. You can dictate whoever you want it to go to. But when you have small children, as long as you have your own life insurance policy, you can get a life insurance policy on them. So the rule changed when John Benet Ramsey, remember that story when the little girl, she was killed?
Every magazine at the grocery store.
Yeah, growing up, right? So she, her parents had life insurance, but her parents did not have life insurance. They had life insurance on her, but not themselves. And so that rule changed, saying that you cannot get life insurance on your kids unless you yourself have life insurance. So anyway, get life insurance, and then your kids, you set up an IUL. It's called an Index Universal Life Insurance Policy. And what it is, it's an investment vehicle. It's no longer about the death benefit or no longer thinking about, oh, I'm going to get cash when the child dies. No. Yeah. It's an investment vehicle. So you do an IUL, you set it up, they get approved because they're super young and healthy, and it's whole life. It goes on for the rest of their life. It never expires. Obviously, as long as you're making the payments. You can do this as little as like $100 a month. Maybe even less than that. I don't know. But you could do $100 a month. You pay a little bit. The premium is really, really inexpensive. But the difference is the cash value of the fund. So you're putting extra into the fund, and then that compounds over time. It's invested. It's invested in something like kind of like the stock market. The difference is it can never go below zero. So if the stock market tanks, the floor is zero. You won't lose anything. But it can go as high as 12.5% every single year compounding. Again, tax-free money, and then you can borrow from the life insurance cash value. So let's say you set this up with your 5-year-old kid. You've been investing for 20 years. Now your kid's 25. They will own the life insurance policy at 18 or 21, depending on the rules of your state that you live in. But you help them keep that going. But by the time they're 25, you could have a cash value basis of like, I don't know, a couple $100,000. Okay, we'll call it $200,000. They can take money out of that life insurance policy. It's theirs. They can take the money out tax-free and put that on a down payment to their house, and they never have to pay it back. If they want to pay it back, they can over time. But what people do is it's like a loan to your own policy. All it does is just reduce the death benefit when you do eventually pass. So if the death benefit by the end of this thing is $1 million, well, now the heirs are only going to get 800,000 instead of $1 million because you borrowed 200 along the way. Mm-hmm. And that's it. Just lowers the death benefit. But you keep investing this cash and it grows over time. You also don't even have to spend it, and you don't even have to use it. Instead of taking the death benefit,
building.
And you can keep assigning it to your children. You could say, hey, I just want you to hold on to this now. I'm going to transfer this policy to you and let it continue to build and build and build for another 80 years. And then that child passes it on to their to your grandchild. And then that continues to build for, so now it's just going on forever. You're allowed to do these things. And so it's crazy to me to learn about this stuff. Because I think legacy is important, because
Absolutely.
100 years from now, no one's going to remember me or care or, know my name. But the people in my family tree will eventually know that Stephen Harris started this here, and 4, 5, 7, 8, 10 generations down the road could be, set up for the rest of their lives. Obviously, probably sooner than that, because of these tools and hacks that are completely legal, not bad, and hacking in a bad sense, like in a negative way. Hacking and meaning leveraging the things that are available and just learning about them and educating yourself. So that was a lot of talking. I wanted to share some of that cool stuff because I'm passionate about it.
I love it, man. And listeners, if you've got anything similar to this, we'd love to hear from it. If you got questions and about anything mentioned here, reach out to Steven, and if he can't handle it, he'll get you in the right hands. Our network is your network. So thanks for listening again. We'll be back at you next week, and keep flowing.